Good day, televiewers. You're welcome on board this shift of broadcast, The Lamb, over WAKA Africa TV. It is a pleasure knowing that you are there. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be looking at current issues, of course, issues of general interest and issues that affect our day-to-day lives. On The Lamb, we discuss current issues, we discuss facts, views with different voices, trying to see how we can better our tomorrow. In today's edition of The Lamb, we will be talking about the topic, realities of another mandate for 85 years old President-elect Paul Biya. Before we dive straight into our topic of discussion, permit me to introduce to you the guests we have in the studio. I will be starting with BAKAH DERICK. He is a journalist and he is the president of the Cameroon Journalist Trade Union. That's SNJC, Northwest Chapter. It's a pleasure to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much, Macmillian. It's nice to be here as well. And I think we're meeting at a time, there are lots of issues to worry about, particularly the welfare of the media in the Northwest, and which is very, very challenging, with lots of media organs which have ceased to function because of the challenges we're actually facing at this point in time. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. I turn to my left, where we have FUNG John Fung, or whatever you may like to call him. He is a health communicator, service manager, regional hospital Bamenda, and he is a member of the CPDM party. It's a pleasure having you on board, sir.
I'm glad to be here. Once more, it's another pleasure to face your audience, a nice audience, and a very beautiful organ like this, or the visual one. Very few in this town. I think it was high time I came here to discuss critical issues towards nation building.
Thank you. Today we are looking at the realities of another mandate for 85 years old President-elect Paul Biya. What's your take on the topic of discussion?
Great. I think it's topical, and considering the fact that we are about to witness another ceremony, the swearing in of the head of state for another mandate, is normal that we should talk it over. The electioneering, the campaigning, and the voting is all over now. Everybody, all the minds, all the eyes are focused to the National Assembly, where the head of state will be taking an oath on the constitution of this country to another stewardship to bring Cameroon more than ever before united and prosperous. To go by the slogan, the head of state for this another mandate, the power of experience. I think tapping from that slogan and commenting on that slogan, it says all, that the Cameroon of today needs somebody with that experience. Cameroon has problems, socio-cultural problems, socio-political problems, economic problems, and it needed a person like that who knows Cameroon since 1962. Because we are talking about President Biya.
Who caused these problems?
Well, problems as a nation, and as I always said, the state exists because there is a problem. If there are no problems, we don't see any reason why a whole government should exist. That is the problem. And take it or leave it, there is no nation. There is no nation in the world without problems.
We are talking about the 7th mandate of a president.
We are coming to that because we are talking of another mandate to do what? To solve problems, to bring about prosperity, to bring about the national unity, to bring about peace in this country. I think that is just why the president went in for another mandate under a slogan, the power or the force of experience. So we are saying that he has a whole blueprint for the society. He has a manifesto that he has to serve the Cameroonian people. So it is within this army that he said, okay, I understand the problems you are talking about. Most more or less the socio-political problems, especially in the two Anglophone regions. Obviously, the President Biya has a clear-cut agenda for these issues. That is why it is so important that it could only be him, because if at all the mandate or this mandate was won by a dark horse, a neophyte in the political domain, it could have been, an uphill task, bringing solution. First of all, you have the person supposed to accept himself at the top of a complex and complicated nation as Cameroon. Cameroon is, a fragmented state, and you need somebody with a level-headedness, with that wisdom, with that political pedigree, that political know-how to tackle critical issues like the
this is the same person this is the same person Paul Biya were talking about, and these same things in the years past.
Great. We cannot conclusively say that because the Anglophone problem certainly is not a problem of 2016. We are not talking of the immediate causes. We know that from the word 1961, at that time, we look upon them as a minority of Cameroonians who were so vocal on this issue. But it doesn't cancel the fact that the problem still continues. It became, acute. It was chronic. It became acute from 2016. So now, since Biya is very much aware of this issue, he only needed somebody like him to face and bring a long-lasting solution.
Thank you. BAKAH, do we say that it is because the people saw that President Biya was the best person to solve this problem, that's why he was in
It's very exciting when I listen to members of the ruling party talk about their candidate and celebrating the fact that he won an election. It is very exciting to hear them talk. When they present you, you will feel that Cameroon is an El Dorado. You will see Cameroon as some beautiful country where you can only but compare it to near heaven. I like the way, Mr. Fu and some of his members of his party normally put it. But it's a pity when we look at the reality on the ground. First, I want to appreciate the topic and to say that my acceptance to be here was because it's relevant. Fact about the topic, Paul Biya has been given another mandate. After that event of the 22nd of October, there is no amount of work that you can do that will take that 7 years away from him. Fact. Sure. Next is that he has been in power for 36 years. Yes. He has 7 more. Fact, God keep him alive, he will do 42 years for Cameroon. Ask yourself the difference between Cameroon of today and the pre-colonial Cameroon, and even the colonial Cameroon. You will only realize the difference could just be a symbolic fact that people take off time to go to the polls to say they want to vote. Because Africa's attempt to get into what is now known today as emergence of democracy, only give room for these kind of things. But some African countries, strangely enough, have become democratic. And you can see a change in leadership and, of course, change in ideology. Let me quickly come back to your preoccupation. I don't know, Macmillian, whether you agree with me that in a country of 30 million, it is normal to have less than 3 million people choose their leader. This is a crucial question, which we must be able to answer as Cameroonians. When you have 3 million people choose you as a leader for a country of 30 million people, we may begin to fool ourselves that people did not have the wish to go and vote. It is about those who went and voted. But as a people, we must develop that very conscious attitude, intentionally choose to make our leadership legitimate by making many more people participate in the process that choose our leaders. And so when I look at it, I don't want to think that truly the Cameroonian people clearly choose the leadership. But then I cannot challenge it.
Should it be the problem of the ruling party that people don't go to vote, or that they don't go to register?
What is the role of the political party? You agree with me that in African politics or global politics around the world, the first mission of a political party is to take power and keep it for as long as possible. So the CPDM has succeeded in Cameroon for a number of years to keep power. It is a basic rule in politics. Take power, keep it for as long as you can. They have done that. But now when you go back memory lane and you see how the process has evolved, you ask yourself, are we moving towards a progressive direction? Even if we are progressive, is it arithmetic or geometric in terms of achieving political development in our country? You realize that they cannot call it success. I can put it to you, because even if you look at the planting of their structures, who are those responsible? Are they the people that are supposed to be apolitical? Are they administrators? What mechanism do they use to be able to plan their structures? If you get into all of these factors, as they say, because the last mandate, I was told that they did not have a national campaign manager. They simply used what they call their section presidents. And you had to, in other words, they had 360 campaign managers in Cameroon. Macmillian, they would take only someone with a different political mindset to be able to win such a machine. And then you have local administrators who are undoubtedly identifying with them, because there's this conscious statement that we keep making in Cameroon, the ruling party, the ruling party. So we also remind even assistant SDOs and DOs that you are of the ruling party. Since you are in charge, you are ruling. So if you were to multiply the number of section presidents, the number of DOs that you have, their assistants, the SDOs that we have, and the governors, it gives the number of people that voted for the president. Where is the normal Cameroonian? When he comes to the choice of leadership.
We are talking about shrinking democracy with apathy. In 2011, we had 7 million registered voters. 3.7 million voted for the CPDM. In 2018, we had 6 million registered voters, and just 2.5 voted for the CPDM. Do you think all is well with your party?
Well, I listen to my learned colleague who admire his eloquence, mastering the issues with a lot of religiosity. But I still want to throw back the question to us. Who is responsible for this apathy? We are talking of 25 million Cameroonians. You forgot to mention that the youngest of the candidates campaign, his strategy was what? His slogan, 11 million Cameroonians to be registered. But finally, what was the outcome? They are talking of 6,600,000, but 6,600,000, the figures are not exact, who registered. How many went to the polls? First, we should understand that registering, voting, protecting your vote is a matter of choice. It's a democratic choice, duty of an individual. The state will not take upon itself to keep a gendarme behind each Cameroonian to get to the polls. But there was a whole campaign. I want to us to get down memory lane, because I've so been keen, very active in politics. It's 25 years ago, 1990. 1992. There was some sort of differentiation of Cameroonians, because the process at that time, the period, we only had a specific period within the year that Cameroonians were called upon to register. After that, voters' register were closed. But with the coming of various structures, I'm talking here of a NEO, that's National Elections Observatory, and later on ELECAM, which is a full-fledged electoral body. I think the literature became a different one. We have a year long that you are called upon, and there were slogans. And then women in politics, they went out. Candidates, they went out, convincing. I know of a slogan: you register, you vote. Let us register, we vote. It is not our making. It is not the making of the CPDM. Great, he made mention of political parties. Exactly. How many do we have? We are talking of over 224 political parties in Cameroon. And all those parties have the same game. No, let's be fact. When you are going in for elections, it's the number in election, is the number that counts. And the numbers was what? That you should get your militant and encourage the militant to register. When they register, you can enter. I've always taken this example. In 1996, during the FECAFOOD elections, Bel Antoine who was so populist. I want to say popular. He was populist. He was sure that he was going to win. But because he did not master what the process is all about, he hit a wrong target. Onana Vincent, who was popular because he mastered the rule of the game. He targeted the electorate. We are talking of legality and legitimacy, and we are talking of democracy.
But I'm afraid I'm afraid Mr. Fung, you have opted only for one, legality, which is not helping our democracy.
I agree.
Yes.
Now, face such a situation in the country of democracy. What should we do? We are talking of the law. We are talking of, the enthusiasm that we should embrace. Let me tell you something. That was a subject of debate. That if you analyze what happened, despite all the, political effervescence we witnessed, multi-candidates, they were there to sell their blueprints. We saw meetings. Meetings. After 1992, I've never seen that again, apart from the Northwest and the Southwest region. No, listen, let me come to what we say. We saw people mobilize. Who is responsible? It means we are Cameroonians are only interested in what? Political showmanship. We are not interested. And the disturbing issue, Mr. Coordinator, is that only 6 million registered, but more than 10 million follow the elections. Or the proclamation of the
Thank you. Talking about legitimacy.
Great.
We had in the Northwest region where we are 632,000 registered voters.
Beautiful.
Irrespective of the situation of the region. A total of 3,000 or 33,000 voted. And we are talking about a percentage of 5.36% of the region. Now, when we talk about legitimacy, how legitimate is President-elect?
Good. Let me send back the question to you. Before calling for the elections, the two regions were already in crisis. That's one thing. Northwest and Southwest, we were already in the crisis.
Yeah.
So the question was whether was it necessary to call the election?
Good.
We in crisis. We had the parliamentary elections postponed for security reasons.
Well,
but we had presidential elections.
That was the coverage, but the real issue was elsewhere. Why are we saying this? We are saying that before convening the electorate, this crisis were there. And there is one thing we forget: the organic, the fundamental law of this country. Read it. That presidential elections for no reason should not be postponed. Read it, I'm not the one saying. That is one. So the head of state was mainly operating within the ambit of the law. He did not want to work parallel to the law. That is one. So elections, since 7 years behind, Cameroonians, the vast majority, knew that 2018 we were going for elections. That is one. So, and the second thing is that this is a single electoral constituency. It is not, several constituencies.
Good, so,
yes, so it means
you have opted for issues of legality and you have ignored legitimacy.
And the candidate who went in, they knew that. Even if they are not voting in the Northwest or Southwest, so far the vast majority of Cameroon, if they won today, they couldn't have said no, it's because the Northwest or the so it's a matter of interest. All of us, we knew that the two English regions were in problems, in crisis, but because they wanted to use that parliament, that presidential seat, bring on top and solve the Anglophone problem. That is why we are talking of force of experience. We should not hide behind those issues because the cards were already on the table that we had a problem, and for no reasons, because we have a fundamental law we do not want to violate. That's why we had to respect the Constitution and call for election in 2018. So it's a matter of legality and legitimacy. It's a democracy's dictatorship of the majority. You either vote. If you refuse to vote, take it or leave it, you will be ruled by your inferior. That is the law.
BAKAH DERICK, we followed the proceedings of the Constitutional Council, and one of the candidates of MRC, they had a problem with 32 PVs. What was your judgment with the way the council treated that particular situation?
Well, it's another thing that, you know, I want to quickly say that I have not been privileged to see this return sheet. I don't know why we keep calling it PV, but procès verbal, it looks like it's a cliche in the records in Cameroon. But then all of us were not privy to see those return sheets, and the explanation of the Constitutional Council was that you don't also expect all the return sheets from every polling station to be carried and brought to your own day, so they put it together and then everybody goes through it and sign. Well, I may not be a legal expert, I mean, I'm not so knowledgeable in law, but then I have heard those who petitioned the subject continuously saying that it was not justifiable enough to have those return sheets signed. So, I mean, it is something that we are only watching. As I said, we are watching the political scene. But let me go back to some observations made by FUNG. If there's something you will celebrate about the CPDM that they have succeeded to achieve in Cameroon in their last stay in power, it's sloganeering. Let me use that. They are very knowledgeable on matters of slogans. They have lots of experts
in political marketing.
When it comes to slogans, you know, they are experts. You know, can you imagine that somebody in a TV set is telling you that because 2.5 million people voted for somebody, it is Cameroonians in their vast majority?
Beautiful.
I have heard this over and over, and I'm like, which vast majority are we talking about? How can you be saying that 2.5 million people in a population that is fast growing is in their vast majority? Anyway, all the same, you've raised arguments, but let me quickly pull you back to the registration process, Mr. Anko. When we go back to the registration process, and you carry a table and you go and put at the main market, and you say that you are registering people, where did the people come from that you are registering for them at the main market? You don't go and sit in a church. You don't know where people come from in their neighborhood. You go and sit in church that you are registering people. The problem starts even
to facilitate.
How available is the registration process? Even look at the structure where you look. Where are people with disability placed when it comes to matters of registration? The process is not inclusive. It's not close to the people. It's distant away from the people. So away from even the frustration of the people with the fact that the process are not being free and fair, it is first of all not even close to the people. You don't have. It is only a few days to closing day that you see people fidgeting with a few things in football playgrounds and a couple of places and saying that they are elections, whatever that means, Elections Cameroon. Even that one, I don't know who framed that name, Elections Cameroon. You come to a beautiful country like us with very fine brains like Mr. Fu, you go and call an institution in charge of Elections Cameroon. If they ask you to look at the real, to explain in concrete and what that's symbol, don't you think that the National Election Observatory sounds better than Elections Cameroon? Anyway,
that's copy and paste. We are having that in many African countries.
That's okay.
We wanted to be more Cameroonian.
More, yeah.
Yes. More, I mean, we had to. I mean, think out of the box. There's illegals even in the name, and there's a lot of. There's a lot of meaning in Elections Cameroon. It resembles our country.
It is regrettable. But Mr. Fogiba had to respond quickly to the anchor on matters of these return sheets or reports that come in from polling stations. I will say it is important. No matter what is going to take place, it's important that those documents. I see even when they are publishing results of schools and other things, you see the authorities with the right competence, they sign on every page. Yeah. One of the complaints was that every page was not attested, had no signatures were not appended to all the pages. And I think it is important to authenticate every page of such an important document as a return sheet from a polling station.
Yeah, I thank you. Menjum Division happens to be your
bastion.
Your fief.
Yeah, the bastion of CPDM.
Okay. We equally had 485 voted for the CPDM, 11 for the CRM, and 245 for the SDF. Menjum happens to be the lowest with such a percentage in the entire Anglophone Cameroon. And we're talking about Momo division, which is the highest with 88.94%. You come from Menchum.
Yeah.
And it should be your constituency.
Well, sir, my constituency, it goes without saying. But we cannot hide behind ignorance. We are all aware of what is happening in our region. Menchum was just a replica, a reflection of what is happening in the whole two Anglophone regions. And we know, first of all, the road was completely cut off. The accessibility was difficult. We could not carry out campaigns, and campaigns was more or less classical from ear to ear, mouth to mouth, nose to nose. We could only send in use telephones. There was not that effervescence in Menchum per se. That's rallies, popular rallies. But we should not forget that it remains the CPDM bastion bed because of the unfortunate crisis.
That was a good strategy to justify campaign funds.
No, well,
it was ear to ear.
Either funds or not funds, we are not yet talking about funds. Because those who pretended that they did not have the funds, but they campaigned. Great. We are saying that it was an unfortunate situation. Nobody takes responsibility. It was a war, a canker worm that invaded the whole region. Neither the CPDM, well, that's even just what justified the low turnout. Because if you can imagine that two Anglophone regions that could have contributed at least 1 million to the electorate, certainly we could have been talking of about 4 million today instead of the 3 million we're talking about. That's another justification. There was no guarantee that those people would have voted for that is a personal opinion and very subjective.
It is an authority.
Authority, but it remains one man, one vote.
Even if an authority is a religious authority, he has a lot of authority.
No, he has no influence. He can talk. But when it comes he can talk. When it comes to casting the ballot, it's one man. He can have his other opinion, but he has also in democracy you only have one vote. We all have.
He has a voice that addresses a population that is larger than those who voted for your president.
Mr. Uncle, there's an aspect that is certain. I thought he could articulate on that. The voting age. We thought, as opposition, a credible opposition, they should rather articulate on that. That we should work so much so that the law should be revised so much in order to give younger ones the ones of 18, because if we are talking of the electorate today, we are talking from 20 years. Whereas in other countries, we are talking of 18 years.
So what stops us from being at 18?
That's what I wanted you, as from the opposition, to articulate.
No, I'm not. Okay, anyway, you are right. But to say that I work for the private press, and part of our role is to control, to speak truth to power.
Yes.
Let me. I will not.
You're not so different from our political opponent.
Okay.
I will.
Yeah, but naturally, I work in the opposition. As being a private reporter, being a private press worker, it's okay.
I will be getting back to you, gentlemen. You are watching the Lamb over WAKA Africa TV. Let's get the reaction of Cameroonians on the street with respect to the news of Biya Paul. Is it Biya Paul or Paul Biya?
Paul Biya, Biya Paul is a matter of just words. It's the same person.
Let's watch this fit.
Well, I had mixed feelings when I got the results of the elections because I was expecting a change after 36 years. I was expecting a change. I wasn't that pleased, but I wasn't angry. I just had mixed feelings about it. Well, he has a lot of challenges. The country has a lot of problems, and he can fix it if he wants, and he can still make it bad if he wants. He has the knife and the yam in his hands, so he can fix the country if he wants. It's up to him. There is nobody that can tell him what to do, so he knows what to do.
Yeah, these 7 years where I don't see how they don't put it power for the magnet again now, so enough you go, because after all the way they happen for the country, so we need another more if he can bring we change for the country now. So for me, I don't see and say the country, that's what it was now, was to go from. So now what do I get on top?
For me, I don't think something will actually change because he has been there for too long. surrounded by the same group of people that he has placed in places. For something to change, he should remove all those things that are his old classmates who are giving him fake information. Maybe with that, he can have some new blood in 2 years to put it in place so that they may help him and tell him the truth about his country. And he may be able to do maybe 1 or 2 developments before he leaves. Because as of now, if he's going, he may live as a tyrant that people don't like him.
But I expect that if he comes in as a new president, then he should be able to resolve a lot of things, not with the old mentality we've had, because people have believed in the past that the current crisis and a lot more of things cannot go through because of the kind of regime that is in place. So if he comes in as a new regime, then possibly a good number of things might change.
This over here, if we fix up, we just say we come on to our chairman, different man, arrange them. I say they on to our church, so if we go. Yes.
For we, the Northwestern and Southwest, the only hope we need from him is to solve down the problem of Northwest and Southwest. And we are still pleading for the governor. The curfew of 6 to 6 is actually killing the Northwest people. Because due to you cannot be fighting for something that you need development and you are putting down the downfall of people. Actually, it's not fair. So we are pleading for the government to see into our problem, especially with the business people. People are dying every day. The governor is increasing it because of this 6 to 6. It's more preferable you put it at 12 o'clock.
So now God know. Now God could decide, not be man to decide. Now all that we talk. Yeah, no. I don't get anything again for talk.
Well, I think that if he is coming in as a new president, it will be very important because it is a new paragraph of the same story as some hold. But I'm quite shocked that the results are the way they are, particularly from the Northwest, because you know, the statistics are alarming.
Welcome back. We've had the reactions of Cameroonians on the streets of Bamenda. Mr. Fung, what's your immediate reaction to all that?
Well, my immediate reaction is that Cameroonians in their vast majority still believe that President Biya remains the person who knows all the problems of Cameroon, they know all the corners of their house.
Did we watch the same video?
Of course. Well, yeah, when somebody says so, he has the knife, the yam and the knife, and because of his age, it means he still believes that Biya can do something, and Biya can do something to find solutions to the problems, because the other one talks of a legacy, and the other one talks of the issue of peace. And that's why at the beginning of this, we talked of key areas of his mandate that was centered around peace, prosperity, and national integration. And when he talks of new blood, bringing in new blood, it means that they are all aware that the present gerontocracy is not bringing about bringing something. Reinforcing prosperity, that the new blood should be brought in. It means it has to give a lot of room for the teeny youth to come in and help him and steer this country ahead. And he talked of employment. It's just normal. The employment is a social issue. And I think the BS next mandate will certainly look into that, to creating more jobs and giving Cameroonians the opportunity to, aspire for many other political positions, especially in the administration. But I was taken a bit about when an interviewee talked of the curfew. Yeah, well, the curfew, we all decry that. I wish that Cameroonians should decry the curfew. But what justified the curfew? I could have also wished that the same cry should come up with the unnecessary ghost town. Nobody talked of the ghost town. It is there, people are happy, nobody, but the curfew, we are very disgruntled. I think we should be very objective in analyzing the situation we are having at that. the curfew was because of, the insecurity in town. There's certainly a justification, and we all pray that things should get going back into normalcy, so much so that this unnecessary curfew should be uplifted, and the ghost town equally should be up. Because if the curfew disappears, we have 10 days of ghost town. Nobody. So we should be objective.
Thank you. Derrick, you watched the same video with us.
Yeah.
Your reaction?
Well, I saw two sets of people. I saw a generation slightly above the youth, and I saw the young people. For the young people, they have lost hope. As per the video which I watched, they have lost hope. And a good number.
It's a matter of vision.
They give me a different picture. I understand from the fact that they have lost hope because they no longer count on human effort. Many people are just struggling and believing in divine intervention. For the adults, yes, it's been bad, they say so, but then they have some little degree of hope left because they think that the mandate can still be used as a form of rehabilitation, to try to correct the wrongs in the past and to build a just and equitable Cameroon. But then the people still believe that the personnel, the manpower, the resources, the human resource at its disposal also needs to be changed, because according to the people, this manpower, this human resource could also be the source of the problem, because people don't take time to diagnose the issues in the country, and consequently the feedback that the leader has a serious problem. So I think the people spoke well. I listened to them, and they share thoughts that are very relevant to this country, and I think that reflects exactly the challenge that lies ahead of the new president, who must legitimize his stay in office before the mandate comes to an end.
Before we wrap up, John FUNG, Biya was Prime Minister in 1975, so he will be 50 years if conferred this 7-year mandate. Yeah. He will be 42 if you add this 7-year mandate to it. It's
42, 42.
No, it's added, yes.
Yes, good.
So it's not if.
Thank you. Are we saying that Paul Biya is the only CPDM candidate who can be a presidential candidate in your party?
There's an enticing one there, but I like us to look back to our context, our democracy. You once said, I think 2 years ago, that was 2014 or 2 or 3 years ago, when this question was asked to him, he said, qui est au pouvoir, c'est pas qui veut, mais qui peut. That it is not the person who, just not wishes, but it's a matter of experience and the ability to be in power. Moreover, he's not there through a coup d'etat. It's because the people, every now and then, he is voted. Let me get back to, there are some few more
question answers.
Yeah,
he is le choix du peuple for the CPDM.
That's it. I wanted to take us back some few months before, prior to this election. There were calls from all walks of life. The people's call. Now, if you are the one in the position of Biya, every time we are expecting that, well, he's certainly old, he should go and rest. But the vast majority of Cameroonians continue to send these calls. You think the calls are falling on deaf ears? Biya is also aware. He wants to step down there to get the voices of the people. That's just what he did. That people are calling you, as we heard here, you have the yam, and you have the knife, you have the experience, you bring about lasting solution, you have to leave a legacy. I think Cameroonians, that just justifies why these Cameroonians kept on calling upon him, that he should remain. And, wisdom comes along with age.
Thank you. Your last word on the subject.
Well, quickly, I would like to say that Mr. Biya has a difficult mandate ahead of him. A mandate that is expected to address the basic needs of Cameroonians. When he took over power long time ago, let me use that description, long time ago, cross-check the prices of basic commodities at the time. It will be important for us to observe that there has been an increase in those prices, and people find it difficult to catch up with the economic situation of the country. He has that challenge, he has to handle that. You also allow me to note here that our road infrastructure, generally in Cameroon, our transport system has been in a downward trend. It is important for Paul Biya. Let's remind Paul Biya that it will be unheard of, that he will be Prime Minister of a country and President for 50 years. And children who are born in this country for that period have never seen a train. There are children in the Northwest who cannot imagine what a railway looks like. It is unheard of that in this period you have a part of the country that cannot see a railway. In fact, why am I even going to a rail? I'm talking about a good road that goes to this part of the country. Mr. Biya has to address this and address the fundamental issue of corruption in this country. I keep saying that you hear every day numbers here and there, that you can call this, you can call that to report corruption cases. But you have a state broadcaster that will not take the pain, the 2 seconds, to remind people about this number where you can report corruption. It tells that there is a lack of the fundamental will to have every Cameroonian join in the anti-corruption. Do you know what's the number, Mr. Fo? Let me have you sitting on second.
No, I have it somewhere.
No, you see. So but then the issues of corruption, you will confront them every day. Each time you confront them, you will not go back. No, I'm saying that you...
I did not come here to report about corruption.
No, I'm saying that...
Where I report corruption, I know the forum.
No, Mr. Fung, I'm telling you that corruption, you need to have that number offhand.
Great.
In such a way that at the time you are confronted with corruption, you can easily report. That is a demonstration of the will. That your government
who is to blame?
Wants to fight. Your government.
No.
Your government has institutionalized corruption. Paul Biya must handle that in his mandate.
Thank you.
That's the only way we can make this country better.
Thank you, gentlemen. Because of time, we will be ending here for today's edition of the program. It was a pleasure having you in the studio, Mr. John Fung.
Great. I think it was an intellectual debate that will certainly help Cameroonians. We are already, gunning towards nation building. We are not here to call. We all are beggars of peace, as the president told us recently. So my colleague, I think we came here just to educate and tell Cameroonians that where the mandate is wrong, the president will be sworn in. But we should one thing: peace hasn't got any price. We are so jealous of this country.
People can be peaceful when they are hungry, Mr. Fung.
Yeah, the hunger will come to Cameroonians. It's a breadbasket of this sub-Saharan Africa. It was a pleasure being here, and I look forward to coming when the occasions are given us.
Thank you for accepting my invitation, sir.
Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure being in your company. The lamb of our WAKA Africa TV, broadcasting here live in the city of Bamenda, Northwest Region, Cameroon. Thank you, Rendezvous, for what will make the next edition of the program. Thanks for always being there as we use our voices, trying to see how we can shape a better society.